Well, folks, it finally happened. The United States, yes, the land of the free, home of the brave, has officially been added to the CIVICUS Watchlist for human rights concerns. Now, if you're thinking, wait, isn't that the list for authoritarian regimes, failing democracies, and countries with, let's say, less than ideal press freedom? Then ding ding ding, you are absolutely right. This is the same list that includes places like Pakistan and Serbia, countries that historically have struggled with press crackdowns and political instability. So, how did the United States, the supposed beacon of democracy, end up here? Buckle up, because we're about to take a ride through history, power struggles, and of course, future possibilities. The Trump administration is replacing career civil servants with loyalists at a record-breaking pace. This isn't just about staffing changes. It's about centralizing control over the federal government. Sound familiar? Because history says it should. Reporters being kicked out of White House briefings, independent media sources being labeled as enemies of the people. This is the classic playbook of leaders who want less accountability and more control. One of the biggest warning signs: the mass arrests and visa cancellations of pro-Palestinian protesters. Whether you agree with them or not, the right to protest is fundamental to any democracy. When that disappears, what comes next? This is where things get really interesting. The US isn't the first democracy to slide into dangerous territory. Turkey, under Erdogan, started as a democracy, but when protests were crushed, journalists jailed, and power centralized. Well, let's just say democracy is now more of a suggestion than a reality. Hungary was once considered one of Eastern Europe's most promising democracies, but after Viktor Orban took power, elections still happen, but press freedom and opposition parties? Not so much. Believe it or not, America flirted with authoritarian tendencies before. FDR was accused of overreach with his attempt to pack the Supreme Court. But back then, Congress stopped him. The question is, will today's Congress push back on Trump's power moves? Okay, so let's talk future projections. Are we witnessing a temporary bump in the road, or is America heading toward a full-blown democratic breakdown? Well, we've got three potential scenarios. Scenario 1. Democracy holds strong. Congress and the courts push back, Trump's sweeping changes are blocked, and the next election sees a course correction back toward traditional democratic norms. Scenario 2. Democracy weakens but survives. The press faces more restrictions, protests are controlled, and voting rights continue eroding, but the US maintains the illusion of democracy. Scenario 3. Democracy collapses. Government institutions are fully purged, opposition voices are systematically removed, and the US no longer operates as a functional democracy. So, what can we do to keep Scenario 3 from happening? Well, history teaches us one key lesson. Democracies don't die overnight. They erode slowly, bit by bit, until it's too late. Keep talking about this, because silence is democracy's biggest enemy. So, what do you think? Is America just going through a political tantrum, or are we truly at risk of losing our democratic status? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get this conversation started.